Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm excited to have you. Thank you for joining me today. And I'm excited that we have Laura Marie Rubin. Her company is called Wild Awake Woman. I love that name. And she is a life coach. So thank you for joining me today, Laura.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here.
Wonderful. Wow. I'm excited to have you. So first things first, tell us a little bit about how you became a life coach. Kind of what was your journey to where you are today?
So basically, I was the woman that checked off all the boxes that I thought society, my parents, everything that I had known. So college, career, marriage, children, solid bank account, beautiful home, respectable car. I could check off all those boxes. And I spent my entire life up until the age of about 45 doing that. And when I turned 45, I lost my job, which wasn't the end of the world because through this process, I have gone from being an entrepreneur to going to the workplace to going back to being an entrepreneur. So losing my job wasn't necessarily like life changing. I have probably, hopefully, 45 years left. Do I want to do it the same way? It was a catalyst, but it wasn't a devastating catalyst. It was a catalyst that allowed me to look at, is this really how I want to live my life? Because I got to that point and I could say I checked off all the boxes, but I checked all those boxes off and put myself in a box, someone else's box, because I had followed everybody else's rules. I never thought for myself, is this rule mine? Is this a belief that I want to follow? And so at 45, lost my job, decided I just made a decision. I did not want to live the same way. And I wanted to find out, how do I want to live the rest of my life? How do I want to show up in 45 years? So I went on the journey and I realized that I was not the only person on this journey. I met a lot of women. And one of the things that I did during this journey was I completely changed what I was doing, decided to become a personal trainer, which was completely different than anything I did. I was encouraged by my personal trainer to do it, absolutely loved it. And yet at 5 years, I was like, oh, I could feel that feeling coming up again where it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't meaningful to me. And I sat down and thought, okay, this was a complete departure from what I had done before. And yet it wasn't working either. What's going on? And I started looking at, well, what about this job, this position or thing that I was doing? What about it did I like? What I loved was that for 45 minutes, my clients and I had a meaningful conversation while they lifted weights. We talked about their life, where they were, their struggles, their joys, all of those things. And I got to really have deep, meaningful conversations and really, I think, made a difference in some of these people's lives. So that's what I keyed in on and realized that, okay, I don't want to coach for physical improvement. I want to coach for emotional, mental improvement. And so I took all my skills and I went on the life coaching journey.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, it's interesting how when you lose a job, there are two different ways you can go. You can go down the, oh my gosh, I'm devastated role.
Mm-hmm.
But ideally, people like you will go down the, well, what's really next for me? What kind of opportunity does this put in front of me? It was funny because one summer, a friend of ours lost his job. His name was Jeff. And so we called it the Summer of Jeff because he just did all the things that he wanted. He went golfing and he did all the things that he really wanted to do and just stayed confident in knowing that he would find something in the fall. But he was looking to go back to 9 to 5. But I just mean sometimes you've got to turn that devastating feeling and just environment that you end up and turn it around, whether it is to start something brand new or to just go to a new company. So, but I love how you turn that around and you tried something totally different, personal trainer, and that you ended up life coaching. That's fantastic.
It was a great journey. And I will say also, I was blessed that I was in a place that I could explore. Obviously, there are people that lose their job and it is more devastating for them because it's paycheck to paycheck. So I will say that I was very blessed at that time in my life that I had the ability to explore and didn't necessarily have to jump right into something. But what I thought was interesting, again, another lesson, was I picked something completely different because I thought, oh, this is it. I like to work out. I like to go to the gym. But what I didn't do, that was still surface. I didn't do the deep inner work, asking myself, really, what makes me tick? What lights me up? What brings me joy? And so when the personal training part started to drain me again, that's when I finally realized, okay, I need to do this inner work.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So tell us a little bit about what kind of life coaching do you do? Do you typically work with, mature adults? Do you work with young people who are just getting into the workforce? Do you work with young people? Talk to us a little bit about that.
So I find the majority of my clients are women just like me, women in midlife, because honestly, in your 20s, you're just starting out. You've got life by the horns, you're taking off. It's usually about your career, your job. In your 30s, you may be married. Now it's your family and you're kind of comfortable in what's going on. I find that when we hit our 40s, our kids are getting older. If we have kids, we've been in a job for a really long time. We finally get to the point where we look at ourselves. We're like, look around and go, oh, is this the life I really want? I thought there would be more. I don't feel this. So here's also what I'll find is that, and I felt this myself. If you looked at me from the outside, good job, wonderful husband, great kids, nice house, all of those things, you would think I had it going on. And to feel unhappy, I felt guilty. I felt shame because it's like, how can I not feel good about my life? Well, really what it was is I just didn't know who I was. I was doing all the things for everybody else, following everybody else's rules. Now, in the end, some of those rules turned out to be mine. Some of those beliefs did turn out to be mine, but there were many that weren't. And so I think women in midlife, when we hit that point, and anyone actually, when you look and realize, okay, I've spent 40 years up until now. If I really take a good look, I'm not happy. It's not terrible, but there just feels like there should be something more. And then realizing you only have 40 years more is like, that's kind of the wake up call. Like, I don't know that I want to live my next 40 like I lived my first 40. Not that it was bad. It's just not, doesn't truly light me up. So I find that most of my clients are women in their 40s. But what I will say about that is, I wish someone would have told me this maybe in my 30s. In my 20s, I probably wouldn't have listened because I was in a completely different stage. 30s, maybe, maybe not. But to kind of have a warning or someone that would have shared this with me, maybe I would have hit my mid 40s and been working on it already instead of going, oh no, almost like, whoa, I don't want to do it this way. So, but mainly to answer your question, women in midlife are most of my
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah, you got there in the end,
Yes.
which is awesome. Yeah, it's interesting the guilt and the shame for having a good life, but maybe not a fulfilling life, not one that was, making your heart sing, making you feel like you were contributing to the world. So that's great. We're glad you found that. So tell us maybe a little bit about your clients. No names, but maybe a couple stories about what their life was when they came to you and then what it was like after you worked with them.
You bet. So I had one woman in particular. This story always stands out for me. So one of the things that I do when I start with my clients is give me 5 words that you feel or describe your life right now, where you're at. So she gave me these 5 words: trapped, uncertain, unhappy, and there were several others, but definitely really feeling stuck in her life and just not, again, a woman that had a really good job, well paying, but was not happy in what was going on. So we worked through the process. My programs are very bespoke also. There is not a set, you do this, then you do this, then you do this. There are what I call pillars that we talk about, but I meet everybody where they're at. So I met her where she was at. We worked through all of these feelings that she was having, how she was showing up at her job, how she was showing up in her marriage. And after 8 weeks of working with her, I asked her the same question. I said, what are 5 words that describe how you're feeling now, how you're showing up? And she came: joyful, fulfilled, purposeful, meaningful, all of those things. And so I said, I just want to share something with you. So here were the 5 words that you gave me 8 weeks ago. And I read off that word, and her exact words were, I said that. I'm like, yes, I wrote it down. You did. So, and here's what I provided for her. And this is what I provide for my clients. I believe every one of us knows what we need deep within. We just don't know how to find it. So my role is to come alongside these women and ask them the right questions, show them, what's inside, bring those things out, help them find their core values, what's important to them, what they want more of in their life, what they need less of in their life. So I help them really explore, discover, and then create is kind of the process, however that works for them. And so, yeah, it was absolutely fabulous. And it is a fabulous feeling for me personally to watch these women light up and go, oh, it's here. I can live like this. And the one thing also is I don't ask these women to quit their 6-figure jobs, their high power, or divorce their husbands. I'm not asking them to make huge life changes. That's their decision to make. What I'm asking them or helping them to do is really discover who they are, what lights them up. Now they can start living life on their terms, and then the rest will fall into place.
I love that. Explore, discover, and create. That's fantastic. And now you talked about one-on-one. Do you also do group coaching, or you just strictly do one-on-one?
So right now I do strictly one-on-one. However, one of the modalities, I call myself a life embodiment expert and a VIP of experiences. I believe in experiences. I think that's really how we embody our life changes. And so one of my modalities that I do is I have horses and I coach with my horses and I bring women out to the ranch. And so those are my group. I do groups there. I'll bring 10 women out. We will have an intention for the day, and everybody shows up differently, the different intention. And then we go take our intentions to the horses, and the horses being very intuitive, very energetic, mirror back. And my role as the co-facilitator, because they're facilitating as well, is just to help these women get out of their heads, into their bodies, because the horses will, they're reacting to the body language and things like that. And then I point out, did you see how that horse reacted? Did you see what that horse did? And then we talk about horse language and then how it applies. And it's so fascinating. And it's one of those things that I can describe, but until you stand in the field with those horses, you truly don't know. I use the word magical. It really is magical. So that's my thing. I mean, so one-on-one, and I do have a virtual online one-on-one. And then I also do that. That's my group right now.
Your group is part horse and part person. I love that. Now, do you have the people ride the horses, or are you just like standing out there talking while they're hanging out with you?
Everything is on the ground, no riding. So, it's really about observation, and it helps us. They give us cues and we have to see them. We have to slow down. I always say it's a place to release the daily chaos and just show up. And there's no judgment. There's no expectation. There's no right or wrong. So it's really interesting. I can bring 10 women to the field. They will watch the same 2 horses interact, or the horse will interact with them. And every one of those women will have a different interpretation or get a different message from the horse based on where they are, based on their lens. So that's why I say nothing is wrong. There's no right or wrong answer in this. It's how they show up. And it's absolutely phenomenal. The changes, the ahas that come from an animal that has, like I said, no baggage, no judgment. They are prey animals. And so their awareness and their energy are very heightened because they're all about being present. And, if you're going to stand with 1,000-pound animal, you better be present as well. So there's so many lessons, and it's such a great experience.
That sounds so cool. But I am totally a fan of experiences as well. I mean, I love to travel, and I always feel like I come back like stronger and more powerful. And, I don't know. It's just, I feel like it just gives you such a sense of confidence. when you travel, especially to like another country. And you get yourself there, you get yourself around. Yeah, this year we're taking our kids to Ireland. I'm really excited because they're old enough to really remember and appreciate it and make their own decisions because they're 18 and 20. And they've been to England a few times. My husband's English a few times. So they have traveled internationally, but this will be kind of the first time they go as adults, if you will.
Fabulous. And I could not agree more on the traveling. My big vision is to have a retreat in Italy. I absolutely love Italy, been to Italy 4 times. It is my favorite. I've also actually experienced a retreat myself in France. That was fabulous. And you are so right. What traveling does is just like coming out to the ranch, it takes us out of our comfort zone. It takes us out of our day to day. It forces us, it doesn't force, to have a good experience, you are asked to be present. You're in a country where you don't speak the language if you go, to Italy or someplace like that. And you get to discover, explore, and create. Experiences are it. They definitely are it for me. I love it. And one of the things that I do with my clients is we'll collage. I'm a huge collager because they get to create a physical representation of whatever came up for them. And they get to take that with them. And I always recommend that they put it on their bathroom mirror or someplace where they'll see it in their office. So if they're having a rough time or, they're just struggling with something and they need a reminder, they can pull that out and take a look at it, and it will bring back all of those feelings, all of those ahas, and just kind of set them right. I actually have a woman that came out to one of my experiences, and I saw her about a month ago, and she says, I have that collage at my desk, and when I'm having a rough day, I just pull it out and it makes all the difference. And that just warmed my heart because that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're so visual as people that we do need things in front of us to put us back into a place where we felt really good. And I think you're right, the travel, when you were talking about that, I was thinking, you end up really kind of going with your intuition. Do I feel like this is the right place to go? Does this feel comfortable? Does this feel safe? And, when you have a husband and kids or people with you, you just interact naturally with them. And so, yeah, I love it. So, what is one tip that you could give our audience if they're feeling that checked off all the boxes, or maybe I haven't quite, but I'm still really feeling unfulfilled and unchallenged, and there's more? Where should they start? What could they do?
Number one thing is we are living then by someone else's rules, someone else's beliefs. And I think the first thing that we do is just sit and determine, what do you like? What do you not like? How does that apply to what's going on in your life right now? What about, your home life do you like or don't like? What about your job do you like and don't like? And just start pinpointing what are the things in your life that you like and you don't like. And here's what I'll tell you. Oftentimes it's easier to find what you don't like than it is, if I just ask you, what do you like in life? A lot of times people will go, well, I like this or but they're very general. But if I ask them, what don't you like? Oh, wow, they could be very specific. So sometimes it's about starting with, what don't you like? Okay, if you don't like this, what would be the opposite? How would you like this? So I think really deep down, it is peeling back the layers and determining who are we at our core and what lights us up at our core. And that's a journey in and of itself. And here's the other thing also that I always like to remind my people, it is a journey. And it is a lifelong journey. Let's see. So I started at 45, I'm 61, and I still find things or I still find myself slipping back into the comfort zone. So it is, I would like to say it's easy and all rainbows and butterflies, but there's some work involved in it. And that's why it's so wonderful to find a coach that will come along with you to kind of remind you of, hey, doesn't have to be like that. Or I'm just reminding you, you said this, you can pull yourself out of it kind of thing. But that's it. I mean, ultimately pulling back those layers, deciding what you like and don't like. Sometimes what that means is at the end of the day, just look at your day. People always talk about gratitude. And yes, gratitude is important. But this is more like go through your day and what was 1 to 5 things that you absolutely liked about your day? Of those 1 to 5 things, what was the absolute best thing that you liked about those days? Do that for a week and start pinpointing where you're finding, and like meaning you got an emotional reaction. So often we're living in our head and we're rationalizing things. What are you feeling in your body, in your heart? That's the important piece. So just start pulling back those things and start paying attention to what's irritating you. Write those down as well.
Yeah, I love that. I was listening to someone who is a neurologist. He was talking about how your mind needs conflict. So it needs to see, I don't like this, but I do like that. So you're never going to always live in the, I'm so happy all the time, or you're really suppressing some things, I think.
That's so true. And you're right about that. And I do like that your comment about how do we know something's hot if we don't know what cold is? How do we know what anger is if we don't know what contentment is? We need that duality to be able to feel both sides of everything. So
I love that. Okay, so this has been amazing, Laura. I love your attitude. I love how you do this. I love how you were drawn to this. So if people think that Laura, I know that she's going to be able to help me out, or I want to have a conversation with her, what is the best way for people to reach you?
best place is to find me at wildawakewoman.com. And that's the website. That'll also have my links to my social media, but you can also find me on Instagram at Living Wild Awake. But the best place is my website.
I love that. Okay, last question. If you could give the world one tip to make it a better place, what would that be?
So I think, as we talked about, discover who you are and start showing up as you are. They always talk about it's a ripple effect. And, we know that there's tough things going on in the world right now, and it seems overwhelming. But if you show up in your love, your joy, your passion, that's the ripple that will help you, help your family, help your workplace, help your community. That's the ripple effect.
I love that. Yeah, bring your energy. Perfect. Well, Laura, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. And you've given our audience so many wonderful ideas and thoughts and tips and ways to move in the right direction. So thanks again.
Thank you. It was a wonderful experience.
Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.